Okay, I think it's everybody, I'm not sure. People may join along the way, not too sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so normally at Platform Zero we do a bit of networking first, but today's talk, there's a lot of information. So if everyone's happy, we're just going to jump in and try and, I suppose, you guys get as much value out of it as you can. So any questions or anything along the way that you want to ask, just go ahead. So today we are talking about social media strategy and how businesses can use and develop a social media strategy for their business so that they can better market through digital platforms. I'm trying to shut this because it's quite loud. So before we get started, can we just do some introductions? Is that all right with everybody? Do you guys want to go first?
So this is Rachel. I'm Russell.
Mine's Alex.
We run a business in British Sign Language training and qualification courses. And we've just had a meeting with Rachel this morning actually to talk about the social media and marketing. That's I hope that's
That's
sufficient.
I'm Lisa. I have a craft business that I run from home, doing different things. But I also work for a manufacturing local company that does medical seating. Doing the finances, which I've always done, but now I'm doing social media, so obviously I haven't got a Scooby-Doo.
Hi, my name's Berdine and I work for a company called Lodge Court, and we offer outsourced HR support to small to medium sized businesses that don't have their own in-house HR, so that can often work out a bit more cost effective than for these smaller businesses than having their own in-house manager. So that's me.
Brilliant. And I'm Rachel from Seaglow Media. I've met some of you before, but Seaglow Media is a creative digital agency. So we do everything from branding to building websites to social media to more digital based advertising and things like podcasts and advertising on different mediums throughout the internet. And so today we're going to talk about social media strategy, how you can use it for your business and how to build a strategy. This is really the basics of it, but when we first came up with the idea of Platform Zero, the idea was to give snippets of information that gives back to the community a bit and allows businesses to get started. And so this is a sort of a tool to help people get started. As I said, ask any questions along the way. So the reason why I talk about social media strategy and why businesses need a social media strategy is that the average social media user uses social media for 2 hours and 25 minutes of a day, which is quite a considerable amount of their day consumed on digital platforms. And so for businesses, that's a huge opportunity, arguably more than what people spend watching TV and TV advertisements now. So our society has shifted, and how we advertise and communicate with people is a bit different. Today we're going to focus primarily on organic social media, which is the stuff you can do for free. But at the end of this we will talk about some of the paid platforms and how your organic feeds into that and how you can use them together. So whenever we talk about strategy, the first place we look are these 7 Ps. And these, I suppose, are the points of your business that make up who you are, what you offer, how much you charge for it, how you promote, where you promote, your process, so how someone goes from seeing your first advert through to buying with you, and what's your after sales process, and how do you remarket to those people if they are potential customers again. Where are they? Who are those people? And the products that you're offering. So these 7 Ps are the first place that we start. And it can feel a bit overwhelming that there's a lot of work to do within a strategy, and there is a lot of work to do within a strategy, but if you're just getting started, I would recommend taking these 7 Ps and just making some notes on what you think, where you are, what those price points are, how you're promoting, what the process is, etc, etc. One, physical evidence is one that people often get confused with. What do we mean by physical evidence? And that can mean either where you physically are, where your business physically is, or where you are marketing, and what's the physical evidence of that marketing. Are you using posters? Are you using press releases, for example? But understanding these 7 Ps is a good place to start. And then the fundamental part of a successful social media strategy is knowing your audience and who the people are that you want to target and talk to. So we think of this as like building an avatar, building a persona of these people, and often businesses have more than one persona. You could have 3 or 4 different personas, or even more than that, but it's understanding who your primary people are, and what interests they have, and understand them in a depth that allows you to communicate with them and ultimately build a relationship with them, because social media is not just about blasting people with sales messages, it's about building good quality relationships with people. So when we start to build this, we first of all, we give them a name, which might seem a bit crazy, but it enables communication throughout your entire team to understand exactly who that person is that we're talking to, and an age or an age range. So they could be between 18 and 30, or 25 and 55. That age range can quite sometimes be very broad, but if you know that primarily you're serving women between the age of 40 and 45, for example, how you frame that messaging will be slightly different to how you frame messaging for a target audience between 18 and 23, as an example. Gender, which isn't always important, but for some businesses it is, and it's still relevant as to what that gender may be. 9 out of 10 of businesses it isn't anymore, but if you are offering a product or a service that is bespoke to a specific gender, it is still important to think about. Where do they work? And this is quite important to understand, I suppose, what that kind of person, what their personality might be like, what kind of interest they may have, and what kind of communication they're used to receiving. Do they work in a really corporate business, because they're going to be used to receiving more corporate-based messages, or are they like me and go to work dressed very casually and work with other creative people and therefore are used to receiving more creative-based messages? What are their interests? And that's not just inside their business or their work or their family. It's what are their broader interests? What things do they do? What hobbies do they have? What kind of things do they do with their disposable income? Do they like fashion, or do they like sports, or what do they do? And it's okay if your personas are really broad and might do a range of things, but when you're trying to build out a set of personas, it's good to almost make some assumptions and think about, right, well, I believe that this guy aged between 30 and 40 likes surfing, for example, or running, or something that you can attribute it to them that helps you frame your communication to them. What's their family status? Do they have a family? Are they a single person living alone? What stage of their life might they be at? Because that allows you to understand what they may prioritise over your product or service. What is more important to them than what you're offering? Or how does your product or service support them within their family? What matters to them? So what's more important than what you're offering to them? And it is likely to, quite harshly, be quite a lot of stuff that is going to matter to them over what you're offering. So how can you frame your messaging to fit in with what's important to them, and understand what those things are that matter to them? What do they value over price? And this is quite an important question, because essentially people will pay anything for anything. but that's quite hard to understand because we associate value with specific products. So what do they value over the price of your product? So we've been speaking this morning about good quality product and service, and therefore they're going to value that over the price. They're willing to pay more for good quality than they do over a cheaper option, which may be less quality. You know, if you're making homemade things, for example, the value there is going to be richer for somebody than buying a shop bought item. But who are those people that value that over the shop bought item? Are they like you? And this is a mistake a lot of businesses make. You assume that the people that you're talking to are just like you, but they're probably not. They're probably not like you, otherwise they wouldn't need you. They wouldn't need your service or your product. So are they like you, but your journey 10 years ago, and they're trying to move up to that? Or are they like you in terms of their age and their family and all of those things, but what you've got is that piece of the puzzle that they're missing? Or are they completely different from you? Are they somebody who has no interest the same as you? They don't have that same family status, they don't have this. So for example, with myself, as a mum of 2 kids in my 30s, I'm not going to have the same interest naturally as an 18-year-old that I may be marketing a specific product to. And what are their deep-rooted problems? And we can all probably think of our persona and think about some of their surface level problems. You know, it may be time, it may be affordability, it may be you may offer them something that they often forget, or something that's a basic problem. But what are their deep-rooted problems? And to find this out, we think of that problem and we ask, so what, so what, so what, so what, so we dig down. So let's, for example, use time. If you know that your client or customer's problem is time, and they're not going to have the time to deliver what you can deliver for them, you know, we're all short of time, everybody's time poor. So what's their deep-rooted problem for that, needing to get that time back? So we ask, so what? And you know, so you haven't got the time, so what? Well, actually I've got other things that I have to get done in that time. Okay, well, so what? Well, if I don't get those things done, I can't afford to buy this for my family, or I don't have the time to spend with my family. And ultimately these things will always draw down to having a deep-rooted connection to the relationships that they have, or something to them which is of vital importance. And once you understand that, you can then market your product better and build a better, stronger relationship with these people, understanding the real core problems that they have. So taking you guys at Lodge Court as an example, you know, it would be things like trust, it would be things like understanding the process, because the deep-rooted problem there is that, well, I could get in trouble, it could cost me a lot of money, I haven't got the money then to spend time with my family, or I could lose my business. And so those things, understanding those and understanding those problems on a deeper level allows you to connect with them better. So when we build out these audiences, we use this framework, and I've got some paper here. I don't know if you've got a pen or so I can find you one.
Yeah.
And I quite like to do this with people as we're in the workshop. Assuming you don't want it. Let me just grab you a pen, 1 second. Pen there for you.
Thank you very much.
Some spares in case anybody needs one. Okay, so building out these customer avatars, and your businesses may have more than one, and that's fine, but we'll focus on your primary avatar just for the purpose of this exercise. You can then take this away and build that out into however many. So I'm out of breath, just ran. Okay, so the first thing we look at is their demographics. And demographics is about who they are, where they are, what's their, what does their life consist of? A bit like we were just talking about interests. And so, how old are they? Are they married? Do they have a family? What's that sort of family look like? Where do they live? Where do they work? And what kind of money are they earning? And that's quite an important question, because what kind of money they're earning is probably quite relevant to the affordability of your product or service. In some cases, it might not be relevant at all, and that's totally fine. But if you find, you're at a specific price point, it's probably quite an important question. Goals and motivation. So this part here is around what are their goals, what's their motivation to working with you, and what's their goals, what are they hoping to achieve out of working with you or buying that product for you. So this is an example obviously for our business, but I want you to think about your business and what are those goals. So for us, it could be that this the accountant called Tom needs a new website to launch his courses, and he needs to sign up 10 customers a month to make that profitable. So understanding what your audience's goals are and motivation, and actually what makes you worth it to them, is really important. Now obviously this is very service led, and I understand you're product led, so it might be a bit confusing, but your goals and motivations for your client, they may be things like they want to purchase a gift for this purpose, and it needs to be a little bit more special than this. Pain points. So these are things that cause a bit of pain around whatever it is that you're offering. So for example, with Tom, the accountant, he wants a modern website, but he's got no idea where to start, and it's really overwhelming. So we come in, and because we know that our clients generally always want a modern site and they don't know where to start, we always market with so adding a bit of value, explaining that process, giving them somewhere to start so that they can write some stuff down, and then we can sit together and figure out how that website's going to pan out. Common objections. So objections are more often than not based around money and how much things cost, or time. They haven't got the time to spend on doing it themselves. So, or it could be knowledge, it could be all sorts of things. But the common objection of why people don't work with us could be that they can't afford the service that we're offering. So we've identified that, and so we know that our audience persona, our ideal client, is likely to be in a certain phase of their business where they can afford a new website, or they can afford what we can offer. And by knowing that, we know not to market to, for example, a brand new PT that has just done their assessment and decided to start, because they may not have yet built up any form of income coming into them, and ultimately they need to pay themselves first. So for us, that's that could be a common objection. So we frame our marketing to ensure that we are attracting the right people and the right level of business, or start-up businesses that can get some funding or some support to do that. So we talk about, in our marketing, for example, we talk about like local authority funding for start-up businesses as an example, because those are the people that we ideally would like to work with, and that's how they can then afford to buy our product or service. And then their interest, and this could be completely outside of your product or service, but what do they like doing? What do they do in their spare time? Where do they shop? What do they spend their disposable income on, and what's important to them? So we know that Tom likes swimming and cycling, spending time with his family, eating out, and he goes to a few local networking groups. But actually, when you want to dig a bit deeper on this, understanding where people do their food shopping is quite an important question, or where they buy their clothes from. So for example, if we know that somebody buys their food shopping at Aldi, we know that they're already susceptible to Aldi's marketing. They Audi are quite comical with their marketing. They're not scared to have a bit of a laugh and you know, take the mick out of other brands. And so we know that if that person is susceptible to that kind of marketing, they probably want to have a bit of fun, and they like us to use a little bit of humour. If they buy their clothes only from designer labels and buy all their Christmas presents from John Lewis at Christmas time, then we know, okay, if they're only buying from John Lewis, they are probably hooked in by quite emotive marketing. They're used to communication which is fairly emotional and pulls on the heartstrings a little bit, but they also are willing to spend a bit more than going to another shop, for example. So can I ask you to all write down what you think for your businesses? So what kind of demographics are they? Give your person a name. What kind of goals and motivation have they got to buying from you or working with you? What are their pain points? What are their common objections? And what do you think are their interests? There's no right or wrong answer here. It's just all based on assumption and what you think. And this is sort of a starting place when we get to building these. I'll just give you a couple of minutes to